You're listening to the Uprise Astrology Podcast, a podcast that inspires the present-day visionary to rise to their best life. My name is Island Sky, and I'm an astrologer and numerologist. I'm best known for cutting right through the noise and bringing the most important messages to you. Welcome to Uprise Astrology Podcast, friends. It is November 2022, and we are going to be diving into what is happening for all of my Scorpio and Scorpio rising friends, what is happening in your chart. This is going to be a very interesting month in that there's a lot of very important unfoldments that are happening for each of us individually, but then also collectively when it comes to relationships and the conversations that we're having. There is going to be some final breakthroughs for some of us if we take the invitation. Now, we are going to be starting with the first week in November. If you're here for the first time, I want to just give you a little bit of a brief overview of what we're doing. Today's report is going to be for all my Scorpio rising friends. It is going to be also for Scorpio sun sign, but Scorpio rising is going to be the most accurate picture of all the predictions that I'm giving. We're going week by week of everything that is unfolding, what you can expect as the month is progressing. The very first week of November, really the first week where a lot of action is going to be happening, is going to be the second week. Okay, if we're starting on Monday, November 7th, all the way until the 13th, there is going to be this fixed sign T-square that is going to be happening and unfolding for you guys. This is going to happen between your first, seventh, and your fourth house. A lot of very important conversations that are unfolding when it comes to relationship dynamics, especially with family members or people who are really close in your life at this time. There's going to be a lot of conversations in regards to you feeling like that you need to free yourself or a circumstance or a situation from some kind of judgment. It is a fixed sign T-square. This is going to be where there is the potential for a very big turning point when it comes to freeing yourself from previous judgments or things that have been placed onto you, especially in relationships. And this can also run into money situations for a lot of you because the seventh house deals with contracts. It deals with agreements that you might have, also to business partnerships or any kind of, partnerships that you may have contracted over the last, many months or maybe even over the last year. This is going to be a time where you could, do things very differently and more true to your heart, more true to who you are. And so this is going to be an opportunity during this week for many of you to start to bring a different kind of conversation to the table. Now, at the same time as this is happening, there is going to be, let me just move on over to the next that is going to be happening. There is a Sun Mercury Cazimi that is going to be unfolding, that is going to be exact at 14 degrees. This is going to happen in your first house. And what is this all about? Well, for many of you, this is going to be a time when I think you are going to start to realize that there's something very important to you that you want to release. This is sort of a rapid fire conversation that starts to come up that you are directing, that might be coming from you, but you're able to initiate important conversations during this time. So if many of you have been looking into initiating important conversations, like this is it, you're going to be able to do that. There is a lot of sort of clarity that you can bring across. You can really make your point known. You can bring it to the table with a lot of clarity. And this also then allows for you to protect yourself, your actions, and your sort of strategy plan for the future. This is going to be huge for many of you if you take this opportunity during this time, because everything in astrology only works if we work, right? There is going to be a lot of intentions with the planets that are being created. And so if you are trusting yourself here, if you're drawing very important boundaries at this time, especially with family members, especially with people in your life that you are having some kind of agreement with or a bond with or some kind of business deal with, this is when you're going to be able to really move more smooth towards the things that you need at this time, because Mercury in Scorpio, though it may not be the best placement for Mercury, this is going to be a time where you're going to be able to directly, point out an issue, but do it maybe even in a way where it is kind of forward, but it is known. Like everybody's coming to the table with like, let's talk some truth. Okay. So that's the kind of conversation, and that's the kind of exposure. That's the kind of, energy that I'm seeing for many of you. The first house has to do with who you are, your identity, what is really most personal to you in your life at this time. This is very, very important for many of you. Now, moving on to November 8th, we are going to have a full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus at 16 degrees. This is a really a very interesting energy in the sense there is a surge of energy towards wanting to free yourself. Now, for many of you, this is going to be happening in the seventh house. So, relationships right now, they might be a place where you feel like there is sort of a tradition or a pattern, or in general, just a vibe of your relationship or a particular relationship. It's outmoded, like it's no longer something that you want. And it comes up. It comes up. It comes up in a way where there's a surge of energy to want to, free yourself. And it comes in a way where it can be impulsive, almost a little bit explosive. Okay. So watch out for this kind of an energy during this time. Expect the unexpected, because new circumstances that may come up here inside of relationships and what you want, what you need, it will actually lead to you having a hard stop and a hard boundary and saying, for finally, like inside of these relationship dynamics, I can't do that. I can't show up that way, or I can't really deal with this relationship in this kind of way where it might just be one-sided, or there is some kind of manipulation going on, or there is some kind of, energy going on here where you feel just it's time for you to speak up or draw that boundary and cut this thing out. This is going to be really, really important. So listening to yourself, 16 degrees is a number that has to do with, like, you have to listen to yourself. You can't avoid this. And especially because of the way that this full moon lunar eclipse is going to be, we're going to dive a little bit more in another report deeper into this. There is this energy where there's a surge towards wanting to free yourself, wanting to be free, or wanting to kind of speak up, wanting to speak your mind, and then also just dealing with some circumstances that are unexpected. And so this is going to be a brilliant time for you to break free from anything that you already are intuiting that you need to break away from. Moving on to November 9th, this is still going to be that first into the second week of November type of energy. Mercury is going to be in an opposition with Uranus also at 16 degrees. So the conversations are heating up. Mercury is going to be in your first house. Uranus in the seventh house. Again, conversations with your relationships, or very important relationships. It doesn't have to be romantic, right? It could be any kind of relationships or any kind of negotiations that have to be made. It's going to start to heat up even more. There is more of a shock value that continues to unfold here, because there is some kind of a breakdown that has to be dealt with, or a situation that is so different and so unexpected that you didn't think that you would be dealing with. And so this is going to be, again, an opportunity for you to up level, but it requires for you to be headstrong, go into it, speak your mind. Mercury in Scorpio is a brilliant time to do that. Mercury in Scorpio is also a brilliant time to go in deep and point out the exact thing that needs to be spoken about, that maybe previously before everybody was tiptoeing around. So it's a really good energy for that as well. November 10th through the 15th, this is when we're starting to go into the third week here now in November. This is going to be an energy that is going to bring us a little bit more of an uplift. Sun, Mercury, and Venus are going to be conjunct trining Neptune at 22. For you guys, Neptune is going to be in your first for fifth house. So that trine is happening from your first into the fifth house. For many of you, this is going to be a time when you are going to be drawing now a higher conclusion. Everything that's unfolding during this week, all the changes that are being sort of put into your life, now is the time for you to kind of say to yourself, okay, there is a higher meaning behind all this. There's a reason why this is happening, and you will be able to actually see that reason. Because many of you, all this attention in the first house has to do with your vitality, has to do with some very important energy that needed to just be released, because you may have been, kind of stuck here, especially the day before when that opposition is happening between Mercury and Uranus. This is a scattered energy. This is an energy that is just kind of um, allowing for you to have something not go in a particular way, so that you could kind of see what is unstable about that and what needs to get rebuilt. And this has a lot to do with your action plans at this time, and the things that you're really focusing on, the stuff that you're doing. And in general, this can be a scattered energy anyway, that second week into the third week, because anytime Uranus is involved, it's a scattered energy. So when we come into this trine, this is a really good time to pause for a moment and really reflect upon the things that are happening in your life and what that really means to you, and where you can draw, some optimism back into your life, where you can really see why certain things need to unfold the way that they are right now between your relationships and family dynamics in particular, and how you view yourself inside that relationship, how you see yourself inside that relationship, and even what is the whole bigger meaning behind that. You can really tap into that third week, because relationship changes are happening, and there's a part of you that could find a lot of relief when you're pausing and finding your own sort of optimism within any kind of scattered energy or any kind of chaos that might be around you, because because this full moon lunar eclipse can be kind of that kind of an energy, right? So it's important to kind of pause. There's an invitation for that 22, when that trine is happening to Neptune. That is when we're able to see our life from a completely different perspective. That's when we're able to not only see our own, but somebody else's, whole entire persona, character, whatever is going on. We're able to kind of, identify some emotions that we weren't maybe necessarily able to understand before. So this is going to be really important for you guys, because this will have to do Neptune, the fifth house. This will have a lot to do with your heart's desires and the things that keep you maybe even stuck from being able to enjoy your life the way that you want to. And this ties also into purpose. For some of you, it will tie into your relationship to your children, because the fifth house is the child or the children that might be in your life, that you are, there is a relationship there, and who you are at this time, that relationship dynamic might also be changing. So there is a lot of understanding that can come through, and a lot of hope that returns when you take this invitation by the planets. Okay. So let's move on to the next energy, which is going to be November 15th through the 16th. Then Venus and Mercury come even more so closer together, coming into that trine with Jupiter at 28. This is a really good time to dive into finding joy, going shopping, going to a concert, listening to music, poetry, art. That's all of those things that Venus represents. But it's also a stimulation to our mind, right? Mercury, these are the things that tell us somehow how much love is us. This is the kind of energy that if we're drawing it in, we're able to tap right back into, this is what my life is really about. These are the moments that really, really matter. And for a lot of you, this energy is playing out again between the first and the fifth house. So it is truly about pleasure. What are some of the things that really make you feel good about yourself and your life, and just it makes you happy, and it brings sort of, the zest for life back into the picture. And these are the types of things that you could be diving into and focusing on during the dates that are mentioned here, but even for the rest of that week, because that week is gonna that's like right in the middle of the third week in November, so 15, 16, that energy is going to continue on, kind of give you a little bit of a boost to restore from all the scattered energy from the week before. So it's a beautiful energy to kind of invest into that kind of a thing that I just talked about. Getting out, doing what you love to do, going to that concert, going to that museum, or kind of involving yourself in the things that you absolutely love, but that really represent a visual beauty behind it as well. Okay, so moving into November 16 and 17, this is when Venus and Mercury are going to be moving into Sagittarius. So this is your second. So you're going to start to find some relief of all the spotlight being on you, all the pressure sort of being on you. And so now the conversation starts to expand into productivity, money, and in general, just anything of value. That is what the second house is. So the energy starts to move now, and the focus starts to move into the second house. This is when you're going to start to be able to really focus on things that are important to you in the physical realm, things that are important to you, from paying the bills to, money matters, to anything that, really uplifts and represents your worth behind it. So you're going to start to focus a lot more on that towards the end of, starting from the 16th towards the end of the month, and even going into December. And so November 16th through the 22nd, we talked about this last month. This is going to be interesting because, so the third week into the fourth week of November, this is going to be an energy where that Mars Neptune is coming back. And remember, last month I was talking about how this energy can be, sort of a reveal behind people that they have sort of a twisted intent. And so what's interesting about it is that this Mars Neptune square kind of meets again exact. They've been holding sort of that conversation, but this time Mars is retrograde. Where is Mars retrograde? It is in your eighth house, and Neptune is in your fifth house. So this is going to be a conversation now where you're kind of revisiting a subject that has a lot to do with a situation that maybe you thought was going away, but it's somehow back in the picture. You hope that it would go away maybe, and it comes back, and it has to do with commitments. It has to do with, relationship, money even, or money that ties into commitments. And it could involve your children. It could involve a sort of something that had to do with even an addiction, because every time we take a look at the eighth and the fifth house, there is addiction, themes that run through these houses, from gambling to some kind of attachments that we could be creating. And it doesn't have to be just in the physical. So there could be something that comes back here that kind of brings this feeling of feeling less than. But there's other people involved in it, because we have the higher numbers, we have the higher degrees. Whenever we see the higher degrees, we see that there is not only you, but somebody else also involved inside this conversation. And so this is going to be a very interesting week. So watch for anything that makes you feel sort of, that kind of reminds you of a time that didn't feel good. It made you feel less than, and it sort of brings up a process now where you have to revisit it. Now, why would this be coming up? Because there is this question that we periodically ask ourselves: where is my life going? What am I doing with my life at this time? So for you, this is specifically revisiting commitment levels and what you're really loyal to, because what you're loyal to at this time is going through a review process, with Mars being in that eighth house for you guys. This is going to, this is a review process. Okay. This is a time for you to really pay attention to, okay, what are you focusing on? Why are you so loyal to this thing? And perhaps there are some things that you could catch at this time that seem off or seem even deceitful. Whenever we have Mars and Neptune in a conversation like this, especially when they're squaring each other, this could be a deceitful type of energy. So anything to uncover here is going to be good for the future because it'll allow for you to understand your heart's investments. This is really important to pay attention to. So that exact, square is going to be holding from the 16th until 22nd. The last thing I want to say here, and I said this in my report in November for you guys as well, dreams about water, dreams about navigating some kind of a boat in the water or even cars on ice. These are the types of dreams you could be having, and they will carry important messages. They will carry important nuances that you need to catch at this time because of all the degrees that we have, especially with the repetitive 60s leading up to this week. Pay attention to what your intuition is telling you at this time, especially to the things that are happening in the background, right? Because the eighth house has to do with anything we're involved in the background of life. This has to do with our intimacy, money, responsibilities tied into it, and those commitments. Okay, so that is what I wanted to say about that. Big energy to pay attention to here. Then November 19th through the 30th, there is this conjunction between Venus and Mercury that is going to start to, really become exact and starting to kind of pick up from 4 degrees until 20 degrees. Now, Venus is going to be at this time in Sagittarius. So it's going to be a lot of focus for you guys in the second house with Venus and Mercury conjuncting here in the second house. This is going to be very interesting because this is now starting the conversation around bringing some much needed energy back to productivity, back to money, back to sort of you maybe even investing time, money, or something that is really important to you that also gives you a physical reward. So for many of you, this is going to be a really good time to rewrite the story here. So if you've been looking into improving money, if you've been looking into, negotiating with other people, if you've been looking into buying anything, right? This is going to be a time where you're rewriting the story, rewriting what it means to define even as far as money or even luxury in your life, because the second house can talk about anything that has to do with luxury pieces as well. So there's a new foundation that is being built here, and there is sort of an invitation by all of these aspects towards the end to rebuild this and also protect it. Protection is a huge theme this month. Boundaries is a huge theme this month, not only because of Scorpio season, but because of the way in which the conjunctions or the squares or the trines are happening, especially from 4 to 20 degrees. This is going to be a time where you're wanting to dive a little bit deeper into, okay, moving things forward for the future, what makes you feel good as far as money, how you spend your money, how you go about it. This is a feel good energy. And so this is going to be a really good time to have great business transactions. If you are in any kind of marketing or sales, you'll look to, bring more money in. This is a really good time to do that. The outcome financially is great, especially on November 20th. And I want to go into this because November 20th, there is going to be, oh yeah, I don't have a banner for this one, but November 20th is going to be where the Sun and Jupiter are going to be in a conjunction. Brilliant energy. This is such a good energy, you guys. Financially, thinking about future growth, thinking about specifically any kind of vision that you have in regards to your investments, your money, your assets, anything that you own, or in general, how you want to boost your own self-worth, right? And it can come with a relationship to the things in your life that you own. And so choosing to do something out of your comfort zone is going to bring you big gains, not only for now, but for the long term. So even though there is a lot of other energies that are going on in the background, where we are now being invited to truly pay attention to things that we have not seen before and discover them. At the same time, there is a door that's opening that is so different and feels very different. And that's what this conjunction is for you guys in the second house, to really up level your vision in regards to money and projects and productivity, and just bringing more of that into your life that you thoroughly enjoy, but it also feels very different. Okay. It's definitely a new story here. Never mind. I found it. There's my banner for the November 20th. So Sun Jupiter conjunction is at 28 degrees, which 28 is all about producing something or bringing something together, because it adds up to a 10 is a big manifestation number. It is a number where we can create a lot, where we feel really good about bringing something real, making something real into our life. So it's a really great degree for that. Okay, so November 22nd through the 23rd. This is huge because now we are in Sagittarius season. So all the focus now moves from the first house, from you, into money. Everything now starts to evolve in regards to money here, and in regards to your spendings and maybe even any kind of investments. And so Jupiter then moves direct as well at 28 degrees in the fifth house. So if you felt like you didn't know whether you loved something in your life, you maybe felt that you've been reviewing a lot about the things in your life that you absolutely vibe with, that you love, that you're into. Now there's clarity in regards to it. You're going to start to see some forward movement. If you've been waiting on some kind of business deal to go through, this could be really great news. Okay. This could be great news that it's happening. I mean, it's kind of incredible that Jupiter moves direct right as we go into Sagittarius season, right after all of the conjunctions we just talked about, especially with that Venus Mercury conjunction. It's a good time for financial growth. Again, if you're looking into investing something, producing something, getting something on, this is a good time to do it. November 26th through the 30th, Mars and Saturn are going to be now in a conversation that has to do with how we take action. And the action has to be a lot more responsible. The action has to be more thought through. Saturn is in your fourth house. Mars is retrograding through your eighth house. This has to do with family. This has to do with your home life. This has to do with your upbringing at some level. It's a deep house. The fourth house has a lot of our upbringing and what has shaped us, how we view the rest of the world. Okay. That's how we were brought up. These are our behaviors. This is something that we're relying on. And so Mars communicating to Saturn from the fourth house to the eighth house, this is going to be a time where you feel a lot more responsible to make things happen, or to take something specifically on that is passed on, through either lineage or passed on by somebody else. Like, there is sort of a narrowing down to what the smartest thing to do is here with this new set of responsibilities, because it's a new set of responsibilities just because Mars is retrograding here, coming into a conversation where something has to change. We can't keep it the same exact way, which is how the month is starting. And so for you guys, this will involve family dynamics. This will involve maybe even somebody else's money. And so if it's not quite, family, these are people that you view as family, or this can deal with your comfort zone. Okay. Maybe you don't feel comfortable taking on certain responsibilities. Maybe you do for the first time. And so there is a more responsible sort of point of view that starts to come in, but a narrowing down of what the actions actually need to be, what you need to be focusing on. So really beautiful energy for that, to focus on those things, to narrow them down and to take those actions now. But then what happens here for a very brief moment, which is very interesting, is that Mercury and Mars will be in an opposition also at 19 degrees. And this is going to be happening between your second and the eighth house. So this can be anger, okay? Caution around, your beliefs being challenged, because you may have to defend what it is that you believe in. Because even though you may have those ideas, now family dynamics tie into it, another person ties into it, and you end up having to defend what it is that you're believing in. And it gets worked out. It just has to do with how you do things, or how you want to do things, how somebody else wants to do something. And so, an energy that can be a little bit verbally assertive, and even verbally kind of attacking, okay, someone, because it's Mercury that's involved here. We could be taking everything personal. So if you have any meetings scheduled for this day, it might be a good time to reschedule that meeting, or go into this energy knowing that there is sort of a more heightened sensitivity around beliefs being challenged, and even people that have sort of more a higher kind of rank in something, or people of authority, or how that person is viewed within even a company or within the family dynamic, something like this, where you feel like this person has been in charge forever. That could be the kind of person you might be running into as well here. There's some sensitivity here with the conversations. And in general, for that 24-hour period, there could be some kind of delay, difficulty, or challenge with projects or previously negotiated terms. So just know that this is coming up so that you can get, once again, super clear of what you feel really responsible about, and super clear about what it is that you know and why you're defending this thing. Okay. If you've made it this far in today's episode for your astrology, thank you so much for being here. If you're here for the very first time, my name is Ellen Sky. I am an astrologer and numerologist. I focus a lot on the astrology with the degrees. And in this episode today, like I said in the beginning, this is designed so that you guys can kind of prepare week by week as to what the energies are really good for, what to focus on. And if you've liked this video, then make sure that you like it. Make sure you share it with the people in your life that could benefit from it. And subscribe to my channel, ring the bell, so that every time I come on these lives or put out another horoscope, you're always notified. Thank you again so much for being here. I hope that you enjoyed this week's report. Let me know how everything is going in the comment section below. And I am going to see you in my next episode. Bye.